you're listening to Big Blend Radio's Lost Angel Travel Adventures show with Linda Ballou, travel writer and author, and your host, Lisa Smith. Everyone, we are so excited to have Linda Ballou back on her show. Last month we had to do a rerun of her adventures in Yosemite. We thought, hey, you know what? Yosemite's fine, and we want to represent California. She was going to talk about Jack London, which is what she's going to do today. But unfortunately, she was evacuated, but fortunately, fine, and her home is fine. And we're so happy to have you back, Linda. How are you?
Well, you're not as happy as I am. I still have a house.
Yeah, that's a
And
good
it's
thing.
raining today. Oh my God, it's been a drought here. We haven't had any rain all through 20 and 24 that I can remember. And it's finally raining, and that's putting out all the many fires that have been burning in California. And I was seriously threatened here in Topanga Canyon, which is heavily forested, and it came right up to the bottom of our road that goes into our area. And it was really quite scary, and I am so sorry for all the people who were devastated and are devastated. And it's going to take years for these, for Altadena and for Pacific Palisades to come back. But the Pacific Palisades fire is the one that threatened us. And our canyon is still closed. And Malibu, oh my God, Malibu got hit so hard all along the coast. It's just really sad. So the Pacific Coast Highway is still closed, only open
Wow.
to residents. Yeah, I mean, it's you cannot believe the devastation.
Well, I
So,
want to tell people we're recording this on January 26th. And so this airs in February. So just in case things could
uh,
change by the time it
yeah,
airs. But Linda's like, I want to get back in the saddle. I'm like, heck, I ain't stopping you. Let's go. Because she really missed out on doing this. She's all excited. Her story about Jack London that is featured in Lost Angel Unleashed, her book of travel essays, and it's also memoir, is also featured in an anthology with the San Francisco Writers Group, which is amazing too. Just came out, so she was excited to talk about the story. But going back to LA, Lost Angel in Paradise is how we first met you, Linda, a few years ago.
right.
Um, and this is Lost Angel. I kind of want to revisit this because Los Angeles being, you're in the city of angels, and this has been part
Yeah,
of your life for many, many years, like Hawaii and Alaska, which we're going to talk about on the podcast about Jack London. But do you feel like you're going to have to retrace some footsteps from Lost Angel and Paradise?
absolutely. And I want to because I love the California coast, and I want to go and visit the places, not just the places that have been hit by natural disasters, but just because I love the Central Coast. It's so beautiful. I love Point Lobos. It's such an
Oh,
incredibly
yeah.
beautiful park. And I just there's so much variety in California, and I certainly haven't hit it all in my book, but I do give 32 great days along the coast from Malibu up to Mendocino. So yeah, I plan to stay home and have fun going to all the places in my book.
And revisiting and updating us. So I know
Right.
we'll be busy. We'll be busy. That's awesome. Everyone, Linda's story is in How We Changed 2024 San Francisco Writers Foundation Writing Contest Anthology. And this is out now. You can get it on Amazon. The link is in the episode notes. And so I love this, How We Can Change. And I think
Yeah.
Jack London was definitely full of change. And what's interesting when we think about the writer Jack London, we think of all these amazing stories called The Wild and also White Fang, but you didn't actually grow up reading his stories, but you grew up in the places he was in.
Right. I mean, it's really amazing how our lives have intersected over the years. In the first place, we were both born in Oakland, California,
Mhm.
and he had a very rough childhood, and his mother used him for seances, very bizarre. And he ran away and became an oyster pirate in his teens. And in his teens, he led a very rough life, and he started drinking very early. And he was an alcoholic, but he
Mm.
was a big liver. He, lived life to the
He probably
fullest.
had a big liver too.
Yeah, he
That's
had a
why.
big liver. Well, they say that he died from uranic poisoning from his drinking, but there's also talk about mercury in his system from what the doctors gave him for
Oh,
a problem that health problem that he had. At any rate, he then in his teens went into the Alaska and the Yukon for the gold rush, and he became a stampeder. And in my teens, I was rudely uprooted from California and taken to Haines, Alaska, which
I
is
love that you always say this. It's even in your story that you were rudely
rudely
uprooted.
uprooted. Well, when you're
Yeah,
taken
yeah.
at 13 from being in the accelerated class in California and having all your little friends and so on, and being a beach person, sunny California, and then taken to Alaska where you're walking in 5 feet of snow, and you're with bloggers and fishermen, and it's just such a rude awakening, and so all of a
Yes.
sudden I was very big in demand because I was a blonde from California. So anyway, Jack and I, in our teens, in our young years, we're in the same area. Only when I was there, I didn't really have any sense of who Jack London was. But Skagway is like 15 miles away from Haines, Alaska, and I would go over there. One of my first dates with my boyfriend was to take the ferry over to Skagway and take the narrow gauge White Horse train that goes up to the Yukon. But the gold stampeders, they hiked up the trail that parallels the train. And Jack was carrying a 150-pound pack. And people were dying on this slog up to the top, to the Yukon, to Whitehorse. And he managed to get up there, and he rafted this river up there to get to the gold mines. And he got very ill, and it was a very rough life. And of course, he was drinking heavily with this gang, and he didn't get any gold, but what he got was fodder for his stories.
Mm.
And then when I came home years later, and I still, I had no sense of who he was. I came home to Haines, Alaska, and the whole town was involved in being in the movie White Fang. And they were filmed. They were the Chilkoot Trail was just too rough for them to film, so they chose my town and the Dalton Pass, easier for them to access with their equipment and so forth. And they replicated the stampeders going up the pass, and everybody in the town was hired. I mean, the town is only 2,000 people, and
Wow.
everybody was swaggering around, and they were in the movie White Fang. So then I sort of got an idea, but I still thought Jack London was kid stuff. Call of the Wild and White Fang were kid stories, kid movies. I didn't really think of him, for inspiration for myself. But then life went on, and I got involved with Hawaii, and I lived in Hawaii, and I started researching Hawaii. And then Jack London popped up again. There he was. He had this collection of Hawaiian legends, and he loved the islands, and that was his favorite resting place. And his wife Charmian wrote a book about their time there, which I read, and it was very fascinating. And he surfed. He was just really you know dived into life hard, and he got so sunburned he couldn't move, because he was out there surfing with the native boys, and of course their skin is acclimated, and he was not, and he got serious. He got sun sickness. You can get sick from the sun. My
Yep.
mother did when she came to visit me in the islands, and she was shaking and feverish and all this stuff. So I read his books about the islands, and I used them for research, and then I got, I got the bug. Then I had to read
You
all of
got
his
hooked.
books. Yeah, then I had to read all of his books and learn all about Jack London. Well, he built a ridiculous boat called the Snark, and
Snark.
it was like barely seaworthy, and but he sailed it with his wife Charmian for like 2 years throughout the South Seas. And that was like a miraculous journey. And once again, he had good times and bad times. He got tropical diseases and things like that. But the thing that I really loved about him was his spirit. This, I'd rather be a meteor than a stationary planet,
Yeah,
blazing
well,
through the heavens. I just so then I read his book, The Valley of the Moon. And the Valley of the Moon, his characters, Billy and Saxon, they go up the coast of California. So now now it's Alaska, it's Hawaii, and it's California. And I'm going, wow, Jack and I had a lot in common here. So I'm going up the coast of California with him in the early 1900s and just loving being there with him. Of course, his writing he's considered to be the greatest adventure writer of
mm-hmm,
our, of the Americas. And I didn't read his story, To Build a Fire, which is considered to be the classic short story, until I was in getting a degree in English literature. And then I became more involved with his writing. Anyway, The Valley of the Moon, I'm going up the coast with the characters, and they're looking for the perfect place to land. And they come to, they have many beautiful stops along the way: Carmel, Monterey, and they spend time on the beach, Big Sur, all of it.
oh,
Yeah. And then they find Glen Ellen, a little town in
mm,
wine country. And he buys the Beauty Ranch. It's like 1,400 acres of land that has been worked out, as he called it, where the farmers in those days would, um, you know, just plant the same crop over and over and over again until they depleted the nutrients in the soil. Well, he had spent time in Korea as a journalist, and he saw how they farmed over there, and they terraced, and how they saved water, and how they used organic manures and things to replenish the soils. And that's what he did at the Beauty Ranch. And he created a beautiful, magical place there. And what's behind you is the Wolf Ranch.
mm-hmm,
He built the Wolf Ranch. It took all of his money, depleted all of his resources. Those are natural
mm-hmm,
boulders there. It was a 4-story construction, and took all his money, all his energies, and it had redwood framing. And 2 days before Jack and Charmian were to move into the Wolf House,
mm,
someone set it ablaze,
it's
and
sad.
it was destroyed. And it's just really so sad. He was a socialist, and he fought for the common man. One of his books I read was really quite dry. It was very political and not that
Mm-hmm,
much fun, but he was fighting for the common man. Well, he made enemies, political enemies, doing that. And it's suspected that one of those people set the
mm-hmm.
blaze. Of course, he was devastated, but I had the
Jack, you
opportunity.
think this was the McCarthy era, wasn't it? Where a lot of
No,
people
no,
were,
no. This is
no, no, no.
1916. He died in
Oh,
1916.
that's
So,
right. That's right. Yeah.
but he
So,
was a
wow. Yeah. It's back.
socialist.
Yeah. It's
Socialist, and the
back from
working
time.
conditions for people at that time were dreadful. And
Yeah.
he had come from hard times, and so he was very generous with himself. He loved to have people over, and of course he drank a lot. It was a big party. But I was lucky enough to visit the Beauty Ranch. I've been there several times, but I was lucky enough to visit the Beauty Ranch when you can
Mm,
ride a horse through. I think you can still ride through, but there was a stable on the premises, and I did ride
of course.
into the all over the ranch, the 1,400 acres, through the redwoods, up to the
Oh.
lake that he created, where Charmian and he would swim, and he'd have guests. And you know it was just beautiful. And then I was so immersed in it, in being there with them. At that point, I was really uh, oh, I don't want to say in love with Jack. I was inspired by Jack.
Mm.
You know, his love for life, his zest for life, and the fact that he was a great writer. So yeah, I mean, my life has intersected with his life so many times on so many different levels that I just felt this very special connection to a man who lived 100 years ago.
Well, I think it's so important when you think about that, you know, who inspires us, um, and you makes us critique our own work and go back at it. It's like not to be them, but be inspired by how they did it. Can we get better? People, and the inspiration to me is a drive to get to be better, almost like a mentor that you haven't met.
Right, and at this point, I'd like to read
Sure.
this is the last paragraph of Jack London and Me. It says, years after my visit to Beauty Ranch, I found the memory of Jack London again at the Huntington Hartford Museum in Pasadena. I was drawn to a collection of letters written in his hand. Writing is about action, struggle, conflict, and resolution, he said. Jack spent many hours reading the work of novices, editing their pieces, and giving words of encouragement. Tears streamed uncontrollably as turbulent emotions rose from deep inside. Writing, often a thankless, unnoticed endeavor, had great urgency for me once more. I wanted to thank Jack, excuse me,
Mm.
for
See
all
ya.
his for all his kindness and generosity of spirit. Though I don't possess the fire to blast through life like a fleeting meteor shower as Jack London did, I do strive to write consistently. I try not to be afraid to write about what is important to me and to be honest with my readers. I look to him for strength on those days when my soul cries tired.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Right. He's a mentor, you know?
Yeah. And so yeah,
Absolutely.
he did a lot of things that people might not approve of. And
He was put
and
in
he did
jail a
a
few
lot of
times
crazy
too.
things, and
Yeah.
he was taken advantage of by so many people because he was so generous, not just with himself, but with his money. Like when he was building the Snark, they took it, all of the guys that were working for him took advantage of him because he wasn't there to oversee it. He was writing and, doing his thing to make money. And he wrote 1,000 words a day. I was able to go into the
Wow.
little cottage where he and Charmian lived, and there's a museum now. They're called Happy Halls, I believe it
Mm.
is, that Charmian created to memorialize him. But they lived in this little cottage, and he slept in this like cubbyhole window box. And they had separate rooms because he had bizarre hours.
Mm-hmm.
As a writer, he would get an idea and get up and have to go into his studio and write and so on. But they lived a lovely life together for 11 years. And he was married before and divorced a woman who really wasn't cut out for living life. And Charmian was his wolf mate,
Yeah.
so
That's
yeah, and they did wild things together, wonderful wild things.
that's awesome. I love it. It goes with, the story of, Wainani and Isabella Bird and these people that and all of them for some reason, like I look at Isabella Bird, she had, she had her wine time too, but that was
Well, she
medical.
inspired
See,
me too, so because she lived big,
she was
she
big,
didn't.
and I think when you live big, you do things that aren't supposed, not according to your doctor. You can't, you know what I mean? And I think it's beautiful to remember these people because as we progress through history and create new history, these people could get lost in the shuffle, you
Well,
know?
another one that inspired me was Georgia O'Keeffe. She was another one
Hmm.
who lived big in a different way. She, went off and lived by herself
Hmm.
in, Santa Fe, New Mexico at the Ghost Ranch, and cut ties with, New York and the urban society, and um, you know, lived her life, didn't let society restrict her from being
Mhm.
herself. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I believe in self actualization, and I strive for that. And I am really inspired by people who do that.
Mhm. And in the arts, it's not easy because you have to get paid. So you have to have this
Oh, yeah,
business and the creative side, and the creative and the
right,
business is such,
right.
it's annoying to put both sides of your brain together.
Well, you
You know.
have to, it's been a balancing act for me in my life. When I lived in the islands, I decided that I didn't want to be a starving artist, that I wanted to write what I wanted to write. And in order to do that, I would have to make money some other way.
Mhm.
And, I have sold real estate all my adult life. And it's been a good career for me because I can work hard and make money and then back off. And I'm an independent
Mhm.
contractor. Nobody tells me how hard I'm going to work or whatever.
I don't ever see anybody telling you what to do.
Yeah. And so, and I've been able to build my travel writing career, and that's, allowed me tremendous adventures and fun in life. So, and I've been able to write, but I have stole that time like a thief in night, honestly, to have the time to write. At one point, I stepped back a whole year. I think it was like in 2008, because I had to write Wainani, and it required that I
Mhm.
focus on it completely in order to do it, to get it all, and I couldn't sell real estate or do anything for almost a year there while I finished that manuscript. Now I'm a little, but if I'm working on a novel, no, it's really hard for me to think about anything else. That's why I'm not working on any novels right now. What I'm going to do, I have a fun idea for like kind of a coffee book thing where I have these beach days where when I go to the coast, and I've always gone to the beach for sustenance and restoring myself. And I used to journal at the beach, and I have found this notebook that I had that has all these beautiful beach days, the different moods of the beach at
Oh,
night, the different seasons and
oh,
and so on.
oh,
And I have all these images of the coast that I've taken over the years, and I'm going to put that together as is my create in a nice little thing for my creative life that is not as demanding as a novel, which really involves total focus.
oh, that's going to be beautiful. I love that because the sea is like our, takes us back to when we were in, a little embryo floating
Where
around.
we began, that's right, where it
Yeah,
all
it
began.
does, in the salt water.
Right.
I love it. Everyone, stay in touch with Linda. Go to lindablueauthor.com, lostangeladventures.com. And again, this new book, this anthology is out right
Oh,
now. Go ahead.
yeah, I'm so proud of that because in San Francisco, there's just a vibrant literary society that I don't have access to here in LA. I mean, we have some stuff, but it's not like San Francisco. So
Yeah,
I
that's
am so
cultural.
proud to be in their anthology.
I love that. I love that. So, everyone, the links are in the episode notes. Thanks for joining us. And we're so happy that you're safe and sound.
Thank you.
Stay that way. Please
Thank
enjoy
you
that
very
rain.
much.
We've been doing a dance for you, and we're getting it over here where we are
Oh, it's
too.
such a
So
relief. I'm so
beautiful.
happy.
Thank you.
All righty. Bye bye.
Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio's Lost Angel Travel Adventure Show with Linda Ballou, travel writer and author. Keep up with her at lindaballooauthor.com and lostangeladventures.com. You can also keep up with Big Blend Radio at bigblendradio.com. Now, happy traveling.